Yes.
work with creativity, you work with innovation, you've written books on both creativity and innovation. So I know that you're really passionate about these subjects and you have a great deal of expertise around them. But just in a very succinct way, how would you say, how would you define the difference between creativity and innovation?
Yeah, they are in my understanding, they are very related to each other. I see creativity as the application of innovation is the application of creativity. So people or company can have some creative idea, but there are some creative idea or some creative product which may not be able to go to the next stage about the innovation, because innovation have to be something which are potentially commercially successful.
But in innovation, creativity does need to be, creativity is a part of innovation as well, though, isn't it? To innovate something, we need to have a stage of creativity where creative ideas are generated, they're evaluated, put forward for investment.
Yeah, because it's down to the companies or the person or the team in the company to be responsible for screening through the different creative ideas from the different individual in the company or even outside the company, and identify which one or what are some of them which could go to the stage about going to the next innovation process. And of course, about the innovation process, there are different stages in order to uh, properly go through the innovation process in order to maximize the chance of success in
Oh,
the innovation. Yeah.
right. And I suppose, you know, most people would agree that for creativity to really flourish in an environment, there needs to be certain conditions in place. So, in your experience, in doing the job that you do, how have you made sure that you are creating a space for creativity to thrive in?
Yeah, there are quite many studies, academic research papers on um, suggesting, or they did some experiment, they did some case study in order to identify what can a company do in order to encourage or maximize, encourage creativity and also innovation with among the employees in their companies. And there are different ways suggested by the different papers. Some of the ways, for example, are usually creativity, a perfect person to increase an employee's creativity. This person needs to be individuality, needs to be recognized. So so they discourage the group norm. They encourage individuality. Of course, a company has its rules and regulation. I'm not saying that people can break the rule, and because they say I'm just being individualistic, and so don't put the rules and regulation support me, and let me be individualistic. I'm not arguing for this. I'm saying that, of course, different with employees in the same company, they need to still to comply with the rules and regulation, but the employers should do all they can to and recognize and encourage individuality among the employees in the company while they still observe the rules and regulations of the company. And there are also some other different means that a company can adopt in order to encourage creativity and innovation among the employees in their own company. For example, they can set up a project. They may have different projects to do for the benefit of the company, and then they can set up the competitive teams, and in order to and these competitive teams are all allocated to the same project, and then they compete against each other. They are consist of different people, and competition can sometimes is a good thing that it can um, maximize, it can more fully utilize people's potentials in creativity and innovation. And another means is about the companies should allow freedom to the employees' freedom to associate with other people, including people inside the company and people outside the company. Because by being able to communicate with other people, discuss ideas, exchange ideas with people inside the company and also outside the company, then these persons can be more absorb the different idea involved, and this can increase this person's innovative idea and also creativities. And there are also some other means, such as job rotation, such as allow different people in the company free time. For example, there's a famous company example, 3M. They specifically allow their employees 15% of their time to not to do anything related to their job, but just to think about and also try anything that that's creative, that can help the company in different ways, such as the company's organization, the company's structure, the company's product, and other things. So allowing people's free time to engage in creative activity can, in the long term, be beneficial for the companies. And also different people have different times in which they are most productive. So rather than fix on different people or on the 9 to 5 schedule, some people may be most productive, most creative in the early hours. Some may be in the afternoon. So allow people fresh time in their working hours, such as allowing people coming sooner, earlier, and going back home earlier, or coming later and going back home later, can help to also increase creativity and innovation. And also, of course, after an employee has been identified to have some creative ideas and some innovative uh, uh, brilliance, then we need to give this person some budget, because just having the idea is not enough. Let this person try. We give them some budget and also the time to try out their ideas, and hopefully this idea, maybe just a small idea, just a small budget, could be the very important, very good investment in the company's long-term project to help the company to be much more successful and profitable. So there are actually quite many means that a company can use, adopt to encourage creativity and innovation.
Well, over the last 20 years, there's been more and more of a drive towards giving employees the opportunity for flexible working, working from home, for example. So do you think that this trend towards flexible working and being not required to be at a particular location, because some people work, they get more ideas when they're working in a cafe, for example, or walking in the countryside. So giving people the flexibility of time and also location. Do you think that in association with that, we should have a workforce that is naturally more creative? Because most organizations, well, a lot of organizations are trying to provide flexible working these days.
Yeah, I think there are more and more company adopting the flexible working hour, and I think one of the reason is they want to make that the person decide on what's their, of course it's not only for the creativity and innovation and the productivity, but also different people have their schedule about with their family, so they are letting the employees to be more to work at a time or with a time schedule that is most suitable for this company, for this person's family and also lifestyle, would make this person more satisfied, happier. By being happier, more satisfied, this person indirectly can help this person to be more loyalty, and also apart from being more creative and also being more innovative. So I can see they're actually not only about talking about the creativity and innovation. These are some of the main objectives of of the companies adopting the flexible working hour system. But also there are also some other reasons and also some other benefits of implementing this policy. Yeah. So of course, there are some companies which are more able to implement this policy. Some aren't. For example, like in the university, and some administrator, if a person working as administrator in the university, they are less able to 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 um, to adopt the flexible hours. Yeah, because if they work, for example, in the 7 a.m., other companies, other university, other people may not be able to, may still not come up. So they are less flexible, and also like some bank, some front desk staff in the bank, they are less able. But there are many companies, especially in the um, creative industry, cultural industry, and also some high-tech industry. I think they are, quite many of them are, the company in this industry should be quite able to consider adopting um, to adopt a flexible working hour system. I know this is not a very new idea, flexible working hour system, and also quite many companies have already adopted this system already. But here I just stress the benefit of this idea, this policy, and also of course there are also some other company who still stick to the fixed hour system. And I think they can consider adjusting their policy and then trying to adopt the flexible hour system if they can, and also if that's feasible for their company.
And what do you think about the difference between local employees as opposed to employees who travel, commuters? In some organizations, there are a lot of people who don't actually live where the organization is based, and they
Yeah.
spend their time traveling from, commuting there. Do you think that that kind of travel time, does it take away from creativity, or do you think that that mixture of local versus commuter employees that could create opportunities for more diversity because there's more of a wide range of people that work there, diverse
Yeah.
workforce?
So do you mean the traveling means that those people who need to commute, or their job are a lot of time doing the traveling because they need to see the client, see different people in different city, in different countries. So that's part of their job to do the traveling.
No, I'm talking about the ones who, like, let's say they work in Birmingham, but they live in Gloucestershire, or they live a long way
Okay.
away from Birmingham,
Yeah.
coming to Birmingham to do their work.
Okay. So they are, some of them are local to, for example, working in at Birmingham University. Some people live in Birmingham, so they don't need to travel, or they just local. Yes, but some of them they need to travel from nearby, or even from, I know some colleagues, they come from London. They need to travel here nearly every day because of course they don't have to. I mean, if their I mean, if their job doesn't require them to be physically available every day, but many of them they come every day. Quite not many. Some of them come nearly every day. Even they live as far as like take 2 hour train, about 2 hour train from London to Birmingham, and then back home, and they don't have a accommodation in Birmingham. I know some people doing this, and I don't think this is uh, very beneficial actually, because traveling is very tiring. I don't think. Yeah, I think I think it's about the location, because the different location between their where they live and also where they work. Maybe some half hour, some 1 hour, some 2 hours, some more than 2 hour difference, and this makes them um, unavoidable in terms of doing the traveling, and they may have the flexible working hour, allowed by the employees, or they adopt the flexible working hour themselves. They come later and go back home later to avoid the traffic jam, for example. But I don't think these are the situation which is very conducive to creativity and innovation. They can do something on the travel. Of course, they can be productive doing something, but I don't think this is. Yeah, I think this is not the category I'm referring to when I'm talking about the flexible working hour.
Mm. Yes, yeah, because there's different kinds of travel. If your travel time is very stressful, it's not really very productive, or it doesn't really allow you to be very productive when you're struggling for a seat on the train, for example.
Yeah,
Is hard.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree because this is the traveling early hour or traveling late hour back home. This is not the what should I say, the style, the lifestyle or the traveling style that the person wants. Be, because they live far away, they have to do this.
Mm.
They can be still produce something like doing some work, reading some papers while on the train, but I don't think this is a lot beneficial for creativity and innovation.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay, well, let's go on to disruption then, disruptive technology. So, in your
yeah,
experience, can you give us some examples of disruptive technology that have transformed the way we work or the way we produce our services?
yeah. I can see in quite many industries there's cases or example of disruptive technology happening, including not only the tangible product, I mean the industry in which they produce and sell the tangible products such as mobile phone, tablets, computer, but also the services such as the banking, insurance, financial industry. And then we have the financial industry called about doing the finance. We call it the alternate finance. So so they use, for example, I think quite many people may have been investing in those like the funding circle and also about the raising money through not through the bank but also through other system. So these are the innovation. We can say this is the disruptive innovation in the financial industry. But here, one example I specifically want to give, talking about the effect of the impact of disruptive technology is in the car industry, because in my research project I have been involved in the um, about the new type of cars, because if traditionally we have the petrol car, diesel car, but because of the negative environmental impact of this car, so researchers and also the government in many countries, they they pass the regulation policies in order to discourage the, the production of the diesel car, petrol car, and encourage the production and manufacture of the cars that use the alternative sources of energy, such as the electric car, and more recently, we have the fuel cell car, which use hydrogen to the power to run the car, and it's very clean. So because the output is just the water, there's no pollution actually. So 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 this a lot of disruptive innovation happening in the car industry. And the car manufacturers like Toyota, like Volkswagen, yeah, and some big car companies, some smaller car company, they have to innovate. They have to think about innovation. They have to think about doing this innovation. All these are disruptive innovation all the time. Um, because they have no other choice, because other car manufacturer, they they adopt the disruptive technology. They invest a lot of research uh, people and also the money into developing the car of the future using the alternative sources of energy. So because of the competition and also because of the government policy, the government forced them to produce cars that only have the zero emission, very low pollution. So uh, in order to stay in the industry and compete in this industry, they have no other choice but to continue to learn about any new disruptive technology that they can find from the conference, from the university, and then try to develop their next car using this disruptive technology. So I can see the very big impact of the disruptive technology in the car industry in the whole wide world.
Yeah, and that's going to cause a great deal of transformation in the way we do things, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why, because the pollution produced by the car industry is very huge.
Mhm.
There are some studies saying that actually pollution, globally speaking, I mean, 40% of pollution come from the cars.
Mhm.
There are so many cars anywhere in the world. So the government, we are talking about the climate change, talking about the environmental protection. So if there's something that can be done on using the disruptive technology to produce cleaner car for the future, that will have a much very positive impact
Right.
on the environment.
And creativity and innovation are always associated with change. So we have to be willing to change. People have to be willing to change from driving petrol cars to those that use more sustainable resources. So it's all about change. And in organizations, there has to be change. Do you think that organizations are, for example, the organization that you work in at the moment, the University of Birmingham, do you think that there are drivers for change? And if so, what are these drivers?
Yeah, I can see from what you say that I totally agree that with you that the change is necessary for for the output of innovation, creativity, and innovation to happen. And the change, as you said, rightly said, is not only the consumer need to change. So it's the company and the government, they need to consider whatever they can, a different way in order to make the consumer change. For example, change from a petrol car to an electric car, change from a particular traditional lifestyle that is polluting to a side lifestyle that is more environmentally friendly. And it's not easy because it's the human instinct. I mean that people are um, instinctively opposing change. People are more comfortable with living in a way according to the way they have been living in the past in the past days, in the past year, in the past several decades. So if they have to change for whatever reason, many of them may feel uncomfortable. So the government and the company is quite great important and also quite a difficult task to do something to change the behavior of the consumer quite radically. But here, I don't focus on the consumer change. I focus on the organization change as to answer your question. So the organization change, the driver of organization change, there are actually quite many different drivers. It really depends on the working environment of the different company. So the common driver can be, for example, there are some economic changes, economic climate change. So force the company to, for example, the economic climate is not so good, so it force the company to do something to save the money, to do something to save the money, but I mean, to launch some innovation that can be less costly or more profitable. Another driver is about the changing consumer demand and behavior. So consumer demand and behavior is not static, is not always the same. So, for example, like fashion, like the mobile phone, high-tech product, or fashion, or even food products, 10 years ago compared to today, what we want compared to our parents want, compared to our grandparents want, can be very, very different. So, so the company need to keep track of the changing consumer demand and behavior, and then they need to change themselves in order to uh, meet the changing consumer demand and behavior. So this is the second driver I can think of. The third driver is because of the new technology, because there are the introduction of the new technology. So the organization, they need to consider changing themselves, their structure, their organization, their people, doing some training of their own employees in order to adapt or adopt this new technology. So they have to do this. I know it's not easy and sometimes it's painful, but in order to survive, to compete in their industry, they need to adjust to adopt the new technology that is available to them. Otherwise, they will be lagging behind and behind their competitors. Another driver is about the competition. The market is very competitive, so they have to change, do any change for such that is suitable in order to make them more competitive. And the last one I can think of about the driver are the government rules and regulations that force the company to have to change in order to comply with these new rules and new regulations, such as the car industries, the example that I just gave. So these are the major drivers of organization change that I can think of that would induce a company to have to consider a program or a strategy of organization change.
Right. I mean, universities have changed dramatically in some ways over the last, 50 years due to some of the drivers that you talk about, technology, for example, being one of them. In the past, let's say 50 years ago, if we wanted to get higher education, we had to go to university because there was no internet, there was no other way of getting that, the latest research findings unless we went to a university. Whereas nowadays, there is, with technology, with the internet, with open access sources, there's a lot of different ways that we can get the knowledge that we want.
I totally agree. Yeah, like nowadays there are more the program relying the online technology, so doing the distance learning, and also not just the distance learning, but also setting up the campus or the program to teach in another country. So it's different. Makes so for example, there are some program is the teacher still physically available, physically teach the student in another country, coming back. But after this, all the next later work, such as the marketing, the communication for the dissertation, are to be done using the online technology. And but also, of course, there are also some other programs which purely rely on the online technology, such as the distance learning. So in this program, the teachers and the students don't see each other physically, never. So they just rely on the online resources. So we have there are some system like in the University of Birmingham. We have the Canvas. We rely on Canvas system, and and that using this system to do the marking, and the student to communicate with the teachers. The students submit the assignment, and also the program administrator and the teacher doing any announcement, and many things relying on the online resources. So these are the new technologies, like they're ever more and more powerful and more convenient information technology that make the university being more able to introduce. I can say these are the new products. The new products launched by the university, such as the distance learning, such as the setting up program in other countries. Of course, I'm not saying this distance learning program and setting up campus or setting up program in another universities is a very new thing. Actually, they have been running for some different universities. Some other universities have been running this for many years ago. But what I want to say is that because of the ever improving online technologies, so the inconvenience of being not in the campus to learn a program is minimized to a large extent because of the advancement of these online technologies. So think about 10 years ago, 20 years ago, universities still launched the distance learning program, but I can imagine that at that time it's more inconvenient for the teacher, for the student to in this distance learning, and the dissatisfaction will be higher compared to today. So nowadays it's much more convenient, and also the student. Of course, there's still a difference between physically available to learn and all, or compared to online. But the difference is becoming less and less because of the new technologies.
Right. Yes. Okay, Eric, is there anything else that you think is really important for us to say about creativity and innovation?
I think maybe the last thing I want to stress is that for companies, there have been a study is by a management consultancy company, McKinsey Consulting. Um, they did a study on the chief executive in the global company, big company like Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Apple, and then they did a study, and then they asked this chief executive about what are the factors, what are the ingredients that they think are the most important in the short term, and what are the ingredients that they think are the most important in the long term for the survival, for the success of the company. So for the short term, it's not creativity and innovation. It can be reduce the price, it can be branding and some other strategies. But in the long term, the number one ingredient agreed by most of these chief executives in the global company is creativity and innovation. So based on the result of this survey, among these multinational companies, they largely agree that creativity and innovation are really very, very important for the. I'm not talking about short term. I mean, making just a short term profit and then run away. I'm talking about a company trying to stay in the industry for a long, long time. For these companies, then creativity and innovation are the most important number one ingredient for the success of this company in the long term. I think that's the one that I want to stress to in order to show the importance of creativity and innovation in the business world.
Right. We need to continue to be creative in order to survive in many cases, in order to respond to the changes, which, unless we're creative, we might feel that we haven't been adapting as much as we needed to have done. And so we get left behind like the dinosaurs.
Yeah, totally right. Yeah, agree. Yeah. So creativity, innovation, change, they are very related to the survival and growth of a company. They are all interlinked to each other.
Mhm. Okay, excellent. Well, Eric, thank you very much for your interesting opinions and thought-provoking information then.
Thank you for talking to me
Okay.
and asking me these challenging but interesting questions.
Okay. Speak to you soon, Eric. Bye for now.
Yeah, bye bye. See you. Bye bye.